I'm here in Medjugorje and I'm with, what's your name?
Jerome Lynch.
Where are you from?
I'm from Hilltown, it's just outside Newry, County Down.
Oh wow, and you said how many times you came here?
I don't know. I really don't know how many times I try to make it out here 3 times a year with groups, yeah.
So you're a tour guide?
I'm
Or
not
a
a tour
pilgrim
guide.
guide,
I just lead people out here. I'm a leader.
Yes,
I'm a leader.
you're the leader, and then she comes in the game. Look over there. She's staying with us.
Yeah.
She is, if you need a good pilgrim guide, Julie is the one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, very true.
and like, when did you hear the first time about Medjugorje?
The first time I heard of Medjugorje was my mother. My mother used to go to Medjugorje, come here at least once a year, and with my cousin, and she always would come home from Medjugorje and always had T-shirts and different things with her, all from Medjugorje, and that's where I first heard of it in Medjugorje, but it just went over my head. Mommy would say a few things, just never even listened to her, and that's just the truth. I never listened to her. But so as time went on, yeah, Medjugorje was just in the background, but never, it was like Lourdes, it was like Fatima, it was like all these places. It was this, a knock, our own shrine knock. It was just the
Were
same.
you a convinced Catholic?
What's that?
Were you a convinced Catholic? Or like me, a cultural Catholic?
Just cultural, probably. Went to mass for out of habit, maybe. And was I suppose I got married to my wife Laura, and we had 3 children, and the youngest, Sean, he passed away very suddenly with meningitis, and that was on the 15th of December 2009. Sean passed away with meningitis, and we buried him on the 18th of December. 1 week later, it was Christmas Day, and that changed my life completely. As you can understand, any parent that loses a child, is very difficult. So when that happened, I sort of went a bit crazy. Well, not crazy, just went off the rails a wee bit, just with all sorts of things happening, and people would come up. I remember this saying, people would come up and say, "Oh, give a wee angel in heaven," and I always remember saying, "Oh, where is this heaven? Like, it's okay, these," and I never would say that to people. I was always very great. I was grateful they were trying to be nice to me and comfort me, and many people tried to comfort me and did comfort me, thank God. And but when this happened, I then took a great interest to find out where God was, what sort of a God would take my son, and where this heaven is. I went looking and started to read books, and some books I just would read the first page and throw them away. Some books was actually very good, very interesting, but still would go to Mass, but maybe not fully understand what Mass was about and what was happening there, the greatness of Mass, So between one thing and another, struggled for them years, struggled very badly. You can understand the whole house was totally different. Even our other 2 children, Karen and Larry, I can only imagine what was going through their heads, because they loved their wee brother, And but anyway, as time went by, I was out with my wife one night in my cousin's pub. It is a bar and restaurant, and we were eating, and I had a few glasses of wine, and just my cousin came over, Kate came over, and I think Caroline was there too, and she says, "We're going to Medjugorje, and you come with us?" And they're great girls. They're full of life. They're brilliant crack, as we say. And so I just was a few glasses of wine, and I said, "Of course, I'll go with you." I put my name down or whatever, and so. About the Wednesday, that was a Sunday evening, about the Wednesday or the Thursday, Kate rang me and says, "Have your name down, I've paid your deposit," and all this, and I just froze. I was in business and things weren't good at all, and I says, "You must be joking, I'm not going." She says, "Well, I have your name down, have your money paid." Well, I'm not joking. I just says, like, people people will laugh at me going to pray. What am I? I remember a woman actually here, and I was going to Medjugorje. She says, "What are you going there for to pray?" And I says, "No." I did ask Kate, like, you know, is the weather good? Like, is the food good? And she, yeah, the weather's good, yeah, the food's good, yeah. And I says, is the wine good? You know? And she says, all good, all good. Just you come with us. So as time went on, my business wasn't doing that well, to be honest, and all down to my own fault. But I remember coming closer and closer. I just kept getting these things. You know, I'm not wise. I'm not wise. Going to this place to waste my time for a full week, and I should be at my work. And it just kept playing on me, and I got very despondent. You know, but I remember this well. I sell cars. That's what I do. And I remember I had this car in the yard, a Volkswagen Beetle, and this woman came in, and her husband, and it was a lovely day. My brother was in the yard, and she said to me, I'm interested in your Volkswagen Beetle. And I had it a long time, and I wanted to sell it. And I said, you know, this was the Friday before I went. We were supposed to go on the Wednesday, and I had at this stage really thinking, I don't need this. I don't need to be leaving the yard, you know. And then this is what our lady will do for you if it's so. She said, I'm interested, and we talked, and I says, look, I have a friend, I have a fellow who works for me, and he's really good, but he's not into sales. And I says, look, if you're interested, come in on Monday or Tuesday and let me know, you know, because I was trying to close the sale. And I says, mate, we're going away on Wednesday. And just at that, she says, where are you going? And I says, you wouldn't want to know. I was embarrassed. I wasn't going away to pray. I couldn't be bothered even getting into it. So the next thing she says to me, look, where are you going? And I says, look, that's personal, I don't want. And then she went like this, and she was intrigued, and I probably smiled and said, look, I don't want to talk about this. So she talked on about the car, and we talked, and then she says, where are you going? I says, look, I'd rather not say. And she says, well, I'd rather not give you an answer on your Beetle, on your Volkswagen. So that got, and I says, eventually I just says, I'm going to this place called Medjugorje. And she went like this, you didn't say Medjugorje, you didn't say Medjugorje. I'm like, oh, you didn't say Medjugorje, she didn't say Medjugorje, you didn't say Medjugorje. And her husband looked over at me and he rolled his eyes. And I says, what? And I actually took her into the office, because we're outside talking, it was a lovely day. Took her into the office, and I said to her, do you want a glass of water? I got her a glass of water, and she says, have you ever been to Medjugorje? And I says, no. And she says, you don't know where you're going. I said, what do you mean? She says, you don't realise where you're going. And then I just knew I had to go. And then she says to me, I will buy your car off you. I'm not taking it till you come home, and you need to bring pebbles from Apparition Hill. I didn't even know where Apparition Hill, and put them in the glove box. You know the glove box of the car. This is for my daughter. I want you, I'm not taking your car now. I'll pay you for it and all that there. I'm leaving it here, and you take pebbles home from Apparition Hill, put them in the glove box, and I'll come in. I want to chat with you when I come home. So I was intrigued. I was really taken back by how this woman reacted. I says, what's this all about, like, you know? And so then I went and got everything right, and then we went to Medjugorje. I remember it was a Wednesday, and I still wasn't sure, and I was trying to be cool and all the rest, and my cousins were there. My mother was actually there too, and my sister Yvonne. And so we went and we flew in. I think it was Dubrovnik, and got the cases and got onto the bus, and that's where I met Julie. I didn't meet her as such. She was just telling us all to get onto the bus and all. And I remember this from experience of life. I remember the first thing about Medjugorje was Julie started talking in the front of the bus. She was our guide. I didn't even realise we would have a guide. I didn't know any of this. And she started talking. And the one thing I noticed, she wasn't reading from a script. She had no notes. She was just reading out. She was just speaking about Medjugorje. And that's okay, but what I noticed is she wasn't speaking from her lips or her mouth. She wasn't this was coming from her heart. She was like passionate. And this confused me a little bit, because I says, this woman lives in Medjugorje. This woman is speaking about this as if this is all true. I know that might sound silly, but I was saying, now that was interesting to me. That was the first impression of Julie, was that this is not a job to this girl. This was totally different. you know, like I do a job. This was like, I just was fascinated by that. That was the first thing. Then I remember coming into we stayed in a house, we're staying here now, Igor's, and he met us off the bus, and he had food prepared for us and all the rest, and he was going around all the tables explaining all, and I looked at him again, I was confused. He was that nice. I was saying, this is confusing to me, and I thought, what is this about? Like, I says, is he gonna, is there an ulterior motive? Like, what is this all about? So I remember him taking me, he told me with the post office, I wanted to buy a SIM card for my phone, that I could phone Laura, my wife, and phone the fella that works for me, Graham. And that's another fascinating story, because when I would ever go to England looking to buy cars or whatever, I would ring Graham at least 4 times a day, even to ask how the weather was, to see was anyone in the yard. Just, I was always anxious about this. And I remember saying, I'll ring Laura, and then she can ring me. She'll have the number of the SIM card, and Graham, I'll ring him, and he'll ring me back. You know, he can ring me at any stage, you know. So I had the phone. I came in here, rang Laura, said, this place looks lovely. I says, I'm not sure. They're so nice to me, and they don't even know me, you know. And I says, I was very confused by all of that. And she says, well, I'll talk to you again. I have your number if I need you. But, so the week started. It was a busy enough program, and I just was consumed by it all. It was so beautiful. Every time we went somewhere or Julie started to speak, she was telling us about exactly what was happening here. And I got a wee bit of knowledge before I came, but I says, is this for real? But as the week went on, I think, now I know people might say this, but I think after 3 days, hope my wife doesn't want it, but I didn't want to go home. I just wanted to stay. I wanted to know more. It was like, as if just something opened up in me. I couldn't stop listening about every place we went. There was a different story, and then in this it was the 2nd of June, I think 2014, and we went to Mariana's apparition. Do you remember Mariana used to have the 2nd of the month apparition? And then the message came out from that apparition, and just the whole week was just overwhelming. It was beautiful. It was just everything we went to do. And I remember this, that we were going home on the following Wednesday. I was getting onto the flight, and I opened my phone, and I'd realised I hadn't rang Graham, the fella that looks after my place, not once. I hadn't rang him once, and to this day I still don't understand why I hadn't called him. But I do believe Our Lady had her hand on that and said, look, you're in my time now, you're with me now, stop the mess now, don't worry about your business, don't worry about anything. And I still can't answer why I didn't ring Graham for that full week. In fact, when I met him on the Thursday, he says, I thought there was something wrong, but he hadn't been in touch with Laura, and he knew everything was fine. But it goes to show you how these things can happen unknowns. You know, it was taken out of my control, I might say, you know. But anyway, as I was very fascinated with all of this, and I came home changed. I know I probably I probably went on a bit too much to my wife and different people and all, and you can be overbearing, so I needed to be careful. But me and my wife, I took my wife out on her own on, I think it was September of the same year, because I just couldn't get away from this place. I couldn't get away. And I'll tell you an interesting story what happened to me then. We met up with a group, and the group we went up, it rained a lot, but we went up Apparition Hill. Between the showers we got up, and it was the guide was Moitza, and she said she's going to leave us up on the mountain for about 15 minutes just to pray after she took us up. And we were sitting praying, and I remember this happened. A motorbike took off down in Medjugorje, and the noise of it was just crazy. It was overbearing, and I remember, you'll not want to know what I said to myself, because I was like in prayer, trying to speak to Our Lady, I suppose, but this noise took me completely out of prayer, and I was really annoying. It was very annoying. And I was thinking, why would people not know in Medjugorje, in such a holy place, to do this? What's this about? So we went back down. I remember we weren't staying in Egos that time. We were staying in Marinas, and we all sat out the front, and some people had a tea, cup of tea, coffee, maybe a glass of wine, whatever. But we're all sitting in a group, and I didn't know the group. I joined the group with my wife, you know, and this girl just said, "Did any of you hear the motorbike up the mountain?" And I just went off on one. I just couldn't help. I says, "They're rotten good for him." And I was quite rude, and I says, "If I had got him, I would have done this." Not really a fighter, but I was just really. And she says, "Shush." And she was trying to calm me down, I could see the people like stepping away a wee bit, and I was saying, "Well, I'm only being honest." I says, "This was a good for now. And why would he do this?" And she says, "Stop, Joan." She says, "You don't know me." I says, "Of course I don't know you." She said, early on in the year, my son was racing in the Isle of Man TT races, and he got killed. The Isle of Man TT races are motorbike races, and he got killed. And we had all just sat down, and I had asked, I said, "Son, if you can hear me, would you give me a sign?" And I just was, and she was actually really happy with my reaction. I didn't know what I was doing. And she was so happy that someone else had heard this motorbike. Just as soon as she had said, would you show me a sign?" And this happened. So sometimes in life it was an education for me, it was a lesson for me. Something that you may think is bad and is not for you or not, is actually something fulfilling for another person. It's interesting. These things you learn as life goes by. But anyway, what else? Yeah. So I decided I would take people out here. I just couldn't get enough of it. Really, I changed, and it has changed me. And I make no apology for this.
When you came back the first time, your wife saw the change already in you?
Oh,
What
she
did
had
say?
seen the change straight away in me, straight away.
What did she say?
She wasn't, be honest with you, I went on nearly 2 months. She said, "Slow down a bit, you know, stop this, like, you know, this maybe nonsense, you might say." And I'm not, you know, because I was overbearing. I was saying, "We need to go to Mass, we need to pray, we do it." And we need to be careful, because Mariana even said, you know, if you go by the 5 stones, if you go home, you might do it for a week or 2 weeks. So just, you know, baby steps, you know. And it's very true. I would advise this for anyone. Just so anyway, I did start to take people out, and there's a very interesting thing happened to me, and I feel I should say this. It's not the most pleasant thing to say, but I'm going to share it with you, because we in Western civilization now don't talk about these things. And I came out once with us. The group wasn't a big group, and I think it was 2016. I can't remember the exact date. It could have been May, June time. I'm not sure. In fact, even August time. I'm not sure, Tom. But we were at Mass in St James's, and I remember the priest. I even remember his name is Father Ty Quinn, and his Galway direction. But he said, "Ivan," he was very friendly with Ivan. "Ivan is having a public apparition at 10 o'clock at night at Our Lady statue in Apparition Hill." I was just overjoyed. I said, "Oh, this is great." So at about, I don't know, 6 o'clock, all the rest of my group didn't want to go up. They said they'd go to the Blue Cross, because they were quite elderly and all the rest. And I remember I went up on my own. It was a very beautiful evening. It was just, I had a bottle of water, I had a camera, I had no phone with me. I says, when the apparition happens, I can take photographs. And I says, that's what I'm going to do, and maybe I'll see something. But I got a lovely wee place to sit, to wait on Ivan. I knew where he'd be near the statue. I knew where I was sitting and all. And I was on my own. And as the evening on, people was coming up. I wouldn't say it was a big enough crowd. But the one thing I never thought of, not that it bothered me, it was getting very dark. It got dark all of a sudden, really dark. And very quickly, and I says, I'll still have a flash in the camera and all the rest. And about 9:30, this speaker over in broken English, "Please, everyone, turn off your phones and turn off your cameras, and no photographs." And I said, "Oh, so much for that." So I put the camera away, and he says, "We're going to prepare for our Blessed Mother, for Our Lady coming at 10 o'clock. So they started to say the rosary. And so the rosary's going on in Croatian, and I remember thinking to myself, it was like, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb. And they say something like, so I knew where they were, so I then said, Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. So I was just joining in as best I could, because I wouldn't have any other languages, and but I just knew this, and on the stroke of 10 o'clock, well, I didn't even have to look, everything goes completely silent. I mean, dark. I could see Our Lady's statue. It was very, very beautiful. And I felt good, and I suppose I started to ask Our Lady, I would say I take out my bucket list what I want, but that's not exactly how it should be. But I was speaking to Our Lady because I knew she was there, and I would say about 5-10 feet away from me in the dark, this thing started. I said, what was that? I thought, and next thing, this thing beside me, it went stone, really like stone mad. It went, and all this. I'm guessing it was blaspheming. It was whatever it was, and it got louder and louder. And I mean, like at that stage, I was say 43 or something. Like I've been around a lot of corners. I've seen a lot of things. I could have cried. I was saying, what? And it seemed to be getting closer. And and all this, and it got louder and louder. And I just said, what is going on? This is crazy. And I got really frightened. And I could not wait. I mean, the apparition was over. And I presume priests were going to this person who I didn't realize what was going on. It was really distressful. I mean, I was distressed.
A manifestation.
As a manifestation. I mean, I was very distressed. I come down off the mountain, and I remember you have to go through the vineyards and all. And I says, if people aren't walking where I'm walking, I'm going to walk with them till I get out on. But they were walking the same place as me, so I needed to get it where the lights where I knew I was going, onto the main street. And I came back here, and all my pilgrims were there, and they're all around the table at coffee and tea and all. And I came in, and they says, what happened to you? I'm quite pale skinned anyway, but I mean, I was drained. I says, I remember worrying about how I would sleep that night. And I was sharing a room with an old man that had came with me, and I remember saying, would he mind if I get into the bed beside him? I was really frightened. I mean, this might sound, I was really frightened.
It's unusual if you'd never experienced that.
I had never experienced anything like this. So I got a couple of glasses of wine. I definitely had a glass of wine in me. And I settled. I really settled, and I went to sleep, and I went in my own bed, I might add, but I fell asleep, and I slept like a child. It's funny that. I slept like a child. I got up the next day, and I went to look for Father Taekwyn, and I remember I felt I'm gonna punch him if why didn't he tell me this was gonna happen? So I did meet him. And I says, right, Father, before we get into it, what happened there? He says, what? I says, why didn't you warn me? He says, I didn't know that was going to happen. I didn't know someone was going to be on the hill that was going to manifest. This doesn't always happen. I've been to many different apparitions. This doesn't always happen. And I says, tell me, what is it? And he says, Jerome, he says, what did Jesus do when he was on this earth for 3 years of his ministry? He cast out demons. And I says, was that what was happening? He says, Jerome, that's exactly what was happening. And Our Lady was there. You had no need to worry. She is the greatest exorcist of all, other than Jesus himself. So you had no worries. And I remember he gave me a lovely blessing, and we parted company, and I felt much better. And I felt, yeah, this is interesting to me, because whoever was coming on, people sometimes say, is this really Our Lady? The beauty of what was coming onto this earth at that moment, there was no hiding places. There was no hiding places at all. And it got me thinking of how beautiful what these visionaries must be witnessing at that very moment. So I remember lifting a message of Our Lady, and there's wee plaques with Our Lady's, wee pieces of paper with Our Lady's messages from different times. I remember reading the middle of it, and it said, have no fear of evil, for my love is much greater than evil. So I remember after that I had more
confidence.
Confidence. And if you live by the 5 stones of Medjugorje, you don't fear. You don't fear. What does Paddy says? if you're not afraid to die, you're not afraid to live. So don't have fear. Fear does not come from God, and that's something I've learnt throughout all my time here. It's media. That's another thing I have a bugbear with. Media fills us full of fear, and the reason they fill you full of fear is because when anyone has you fearful, you will do as you're told. So if you look back at the last few years, we have been so filled with fear that it is crippling the world, and this does not come from God. This comes from Satan. These things that are being told us on media, most of it is fear-filled, and has us all not coming out of our houses, not wanting to know, and doing what we are told. I suggest to everyone, if you really want to live a more peaceful, with no fear in your life, turn off your TVs. Don't watch the news for sure. That's for sure. But anyway, where was I with them?
Can I ask you,
Yeah.
because the picture of your son is here, maybe
Yeah.
you can hold it in the camera.
This is a wee memory card of Sean. This is
And
Sean.
I was amazed because you were like quite positive,
Oh, very. I'll just show you the back.
But what would you tell people? That is so
He loved
beautiful.
diggers and tractors and lorries. He was a real man's man. Right, what would I
Like
tell
Daddy,
people?
machines, cars, tractors.
Loved cars, tractors, loved all that.
What do you tell people? A lot of people, this
Oh,
happens to
please,
my dad
Please,
too.
Holy Spirit, let me tell you. People would sometimes say, oh, well, we have another child since this. I must say this, Ella's with me at the moment. We were blessed with another child after Sean went back home to heaven. God gave us another child, and we were very, very blessed. And Ella's now 14, and she's beautiful, and she's with me now. And today in this pilgrimage, what would I say? When you lose someone, of course you're going to grieve. Of course you're going to be lost. You miss this. You miss this. But actually, the truth to be told, and it doesn't be talked about much, they're very much still with you. They're very much still with you, and you must give them a chance to answer your prayers. Even you must ask their help. Ask them, even ask for a sign. Don't ever be afraid to ask for a sign. And one thing, if you ever do get the sign, like if say you ask, can you give me a sign if you're about to?
Like the lady with the motorcycle.
Yes, like the lady with the motorcycle. Exactly. Well, say for instance, people get a feather sent to them. The problem. They get this feather and say, oh, that wasn't really a sign. They think that wasn't a sign, and that is exactly what it was. It was a sign. So grasp every sign you get sent to you. I have no doubt my son is looking after me. I have no doubt about this. How do I describe this? People sometimes say, are you worried about Sean? He's the least of my worries. He intercedes. People say he's an angel in heaven. That's actually not true. He's a soul in heaven. He's a saint in heaven, and he will intercede for me, my wife, all of us. He'll intercede for whoever asks for help, because he was a pure soul. He was coming 4 years old. So anyone who is watching this video and has lost a child, it's difficult. There's no easy way. We don't have a magic wand, but have faith. Ask for help. Ask Our Lady. Please ask Our Lady for help. Ask her to intercede for you, because she will lead you to her son. Our Lady is never ever speaking about herself as such. She always is leading us to her son. Everything you look at, every message, she is asking us to pray. She's asking us to fast. She's asking us to return to the sacraments. Like that was another thing I found about Medjugorje. And still I'm not up there yet, but it catechized me very much. It was a great catechesis lesson, and to this very day I learn from Father Leon. He'd be speaking even before Holy Mass, and you learn so much that you thought you knew, and then you understand that there's nothing greater than the Holy Mass. There's nothing. You're actually.
Why is that? People
why?
don't understand it anymore.
Because the bread and wine, the priest at the consecration makes it into the body and blood of our Lord Jesus Christ. So the host is the body and blood of our Lord Jesus Christ. This is something that, and I'm going to even go a wee bit step further. When you receive the host, if you really knew, there's bands of angels round you, and they're not worshipping you, they're worshipping who is inside you. That is exactly when that happens, I realize I'm in communion with Jesus. I'm actually in communion with him then. And I can ask him anything. I can, anything at all for help in any way or any questions that need answered. And again, I would even say this to priests. I think we need to go back and tell our congregations this. Tell our congregations, like for instance, when we drive past the chapel, we as Catholics, we bless ourselves. And why do we bless ourselves? Jesus is alive in the tabernacle. He's in there. He's alive in the tabernacle. For instance, people get sick or people have difficulties. Even when there's no Holy Mass on, when there's no Mass on, you walk into the chapel, you kneel down, you look up at the tabernacle and say, here I am. And he's in there. He's like, for instance, if the chapel was open late at night, at 3 o'clock in the morning, you're not going into an empty building. People think that this is an empty. We have lost the understanding of it's not empty, it's alive. Jesus is alive in there. You don't go into this building where no one else is there. Jesus is in the tabernacle. So I find myself sometimes going in and just having a word with them, just in an ordinary day, these type of things I've learned, and it's very beautiful, and it's very comforting, and I would even, anyone that you've asked about losing a child, just go present yourself in front of the tabernacle and have a word. And one of the greatest things here is, people say the Blue Cross, maybe Cross Mountain. I think adoration at night, I think it's so unusual. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people kneeling, sitting, standing in front of the Blessed Sacrament, and silent, completely silent. I find that fascinating. I find that beautiful. So, yeah, so that's my...
I would like to add something there,
okay.
Because, I was asking this question about like heavy cases, like if a child is gone. And one convincing argument or like thought was, go to Our Lady, she lost her son.
Yes.
That's the one I think people can connect to. Go to Our Lady, talk to her.
Well, there's part of I didn't say to you there, and I should have. My mother, Bernadette, when we lost Sean, I was going about looking for books, and I was looking for all these different books on spiritual things, whatever. And she says, here, I have books on Medjugorje. And I said, what I want that? I never would insult her, obviously, I've never, but she doesn't understand. I remember thinking, sure, she doesn't understand my suffering. And then I thought, what would a mother know about her son's suffering? So...
She was alive when your son died.
Oh yes,
What
she's
did
still
she
alive.
say?
She's still alive.
What did
my
she
mother.
say at the time?
I remember in the hospital, we all knelt down to pray, and because we knew it was serious. We were losing Sean very quickly, and the doctors were working on him, and it was all just mad. And she knelt down. She says, "God, take me instead." That was tough, because I knew it was. I knew everything. I couldn't even really pray then. And I remember her shouting that, "God, please take me instead," because we knew he was slipping away. That part's difficult, but I remember that's how she reacted. She actually wanted to protect me, by
Like a mother.
Yeah, and but it was that particular time's tough. But other than that, I've come to love. I'm in great peace. I'm in great peace with the loss of my son. I'm in great peace, and hopefully this will help someone else.
Absolutely. Somebody said this happens. Ask when you are in that trial. Sometimes the pain is too big, or afterwards, ask God, what do you want to show me with that?
Yeah.
What does that mean? He will show. No?
Many times I've asked this. Many times I've asked. Like as I said, for a sign, and I got signs. I got.
You will get them. And I got them too.
Yeah. So, and as I say, when you meet people on this path, you meet some you can come here and you're all bottled up with what sadness and maybe a bit of self-pity, and then you sit down and you're starting to listen to other people's stories, and then you realise, I better Watch what I'm saying, because there's other people with much heavier crosses.
My
much
father too.
Much
Two
heavier.
children, you know.
Yeah,
It's like,
you realise, and I'm going to say this: there's worse things than death out there.
Yeah.
That's my honest belief. There's worse things than death. I'll never get over the loss of my son, but I have learned to cope with it very well too.
you
Very
see
well.
You can see it.
Yeah. So and with people like this over here,
Yeah, there she is. Look, our angel sitting over there.
who's helped
She's
us.
truly an
Yeah,
angel. Huh?
yeah, and people like this that give you a great understanding of heaven. Of that, one of the first messages, one of the first things that Our Lady says, "I've come to let the world know that God does exist." Well, I can second that. He does exist. So that's...
You made the experience. Just to finish off, maybe you lost a child, suicide, or other ways. Don't forget to do Gregorian masses for them, you know.
Oh,
There are 30 masses in
Yes.
a row. You go to retired priests around the world, you will find
Gregorian
them.
masses.
And that is
I
the
know that.
safe path, safe way to heaven. Maybe your children did suicide. There's so many out there, you know. I
So
saw it
many.
with my sister, it helped.
Yeah, I'll just say this: we in Western civilization, in particular, have become arrogant. I believe this is my belief. We have, we think we can do without God. For instance, we have decided to vote for abortion in Ireland. We have decided to do away with so much of these things, like euthanasia is coming in. All these different things.
That's
I will
the second step after
yeah, second
abortion.
step. I will say this. People say, why would God do this? Why would God do that? Well, it's not like that. When we decide to push God out of our lives, when the world decides, in particular Western civilization, when they decide to say that a man can be a woman and a woman can be a man, and we are supposed to go with this, when we decide to go down this road, we push God out of our lives, and when God comes, when God goes out of your life, evil comes in, and he will wreak havoc. There'll be death and destruction. And if you just look at Western civilization now, and look at something you touched on about suicide, there's no hope. They think there's no hope. We need to go back to our chapels. We need to go back to live in our faith.
And
So
for
that's-
you, that was like Medjugorje was a big part of it.
I don't know where I'd be without Medjugorje, without Our Lady. I
You
don't-
brought the little things from Apparition Hill to
Oh.
the lady. She got the beetle.
Yes. Oh, she did. Oh, she bought it. Surely she had bought and all, and I left it. I got her other stuff that was blessed, and I brought the wee pebbles from Apparition Hill, and she came back and we discussed what had happened.
And you said you made the experience of God here. A lot of people think. My brother asked me. You know, it's interesting. Before dying, he said, always ask that question. He said, like, a lot of people think God the Father is an angry old man with a white beard. He
that's-
judges, waits, happy when we make a mistake, and then he sends us to hell. People think that.
God is love.
Explain, yeah?
God is love. I'll explain this. If you're going to rob a bank, evil will say, "Go, do it," right? God will be saying, "Don't do it." Then you rob the bank, or anything, whatever you're
Anything.
going to do,
You
whatever.
see,
There's so
everybody
many,
knows.
right? Then after the crime you commit, evil will say, "You fool." Evil will condemn you. Evil, and God will put His arm around you, and God will say, "No, it's okay. We forgive you. I forgive you. I will forgive you. You need to look for
Confession.
yeah, and that's the difference. God will tell you not to do these bad things, whatever it is, but when you do it, and we all slip, we all do things,
Yeah. First
it's
one.
God that will put the arm around you. It's God that will help you. It's God that will take you away from that. But on the other hand, evil will tell you to do the bad thing, and then when you do the bad thing, he'll be your accuser and say you're fit.
He's a legalist. He's in your mind. Everybody knows it, no?
You're not fit for purpose. You need it, and that's where I might add. That's where a lot of suicide comes out of, because you listen to the wrong side. And this is such a difficult subject.
So let's talk about the solution. That's confession. A lot of people come here after 20 years. They want to go first time confession. Are scared. You saw it. You brought a lot of people. What do you tell them?
I see people. I take lots of people out here. I see people changing. I see them changing. I see them like this here, and then I see them getting back on the bus, and they're full of life. And they actually, as they've talked to me about how they've changed, and it's just it's beautiful to watch the transformation. Because when I talked about this, and I says, is this just me that feels this here? And then you take people and you see other people the same, and then you're so happy that.
Yeah, the changes. I
Yeah.
saw it one time with an Italian
Yes.
group. I was amazed. They came barred and they left joyfully
Yeah.
unbarred.
Yeah.
And what do you
That's-
tell about confession? Why not to fear? You brought a lot of people. They went to confession.
I
What do you tell them?
I'll tell you a story about this fella I took with me, and I said, try and get to confession. But he was, I wouldn't say arrogant, but he knew. I know about these things. I know, and he was. So eventually, about halfway through the pilgrimage, he said, I'm going to go to confession, and he went to a priest, and he sat back like this, but he says, now before we start, he says, Father, and this was an old priest that had a lot of wisdom. And he says, before we start, are you telling me I'll not get into heaven if I don't tell my confession here? And the old priest went like this, no, I'm not saying anything like that at all. I am not God. I'm not going to tell you you'll not get into heaven. Why would you? He said, well then, why would you want me to say my confessions? He says, you're going about with all your sins on your soul, with this here, and it's weighing you down. No matter if you don't think it is, it's weighing you down. You sometimes think about this sin and that sin throughout, and you're going like this, and you're going, and it's heavier and heavier and heavier on your soul. He says, now I'm here, and I can take every one of them sins away from you, right now, here and right now. But that's up to you. He says, you have it. He says, whatever way you want it. He says, oh, I soon confessed. He said, he wanted to get rid of this pressure, this.
And you feel as well. You're happy. You're young like a deer. You jump around. You want to hug everybody.
And you must remember that your sins are gone. They are not only forgiven, they're gone. So that is so important. Yeah. And this is something, again, Western civilization think they know best. This is something they need to get back to. We need to go back to old times. Like, we can look at our fathers and our mothers and our grandfathers and our grandmothers. Like, people say, I wouldn't go to Mass. Well, you can look at them and say, oh, they were current stupid that they went to Mass and they made sure the holy days. They weren't. They were smart people. These people were smart. And we need to stop being so arrogant and start to look for God and start to rely on Him.
Yeah.
So
you made the experience. He is good. He loves you. All is for the good, because you're a witness. Yes. You lost a son, but you still say God, all is for the good. A lot of people who pass through stuff like that, they shine.
No, I love God. No.
So you surrender? You say,
totally surrender. Totally,
like, now,
totally
our Father, Thy will be done.
Yeah, and I give God the reins. I give Him the reins.
Why do you do that?
Because I look back at my life, and I've made lots of wrong decisions, I suppose. So when He's in the driving seat, there's less wrong decisions, let's put it that way.
You see, although your marriage changed, more sparkling?
Oh, yeah, it was always, well, I think it was always strong, and I want it to continue being strong. And that's another thing. Satan is attacking the family. That's the simplest way, attacking the children in particular. Yeah. Then when the children is disgruntled, the marriage can be disgruntled. So we need to bring prayer back into the family. These are simple things. This was what happened. I remember I had an uncle, and he was blind. And I remember he was so strict about saying the rosary. And I used to go and stay with him. And when we were staying with him, we all knelt down to say the rosary. And he was blind. And his sons and his daughter, we were saying, turn on the TV, and turn the volume down. And we'd been watching, and he would know. He'd say, turn that TV off. But I remember them great times that the rosary had to be said every night.
My grandmother as well.
It was so beautiful, and I wish we could get back to that.
Yes.
We would live in a much more peaceful world and a much more peaceful society.
If you pray, you saw that you pray your rosaries to your wife now in the family?
You must. It's just I would feel bare without my rosary.
There it is. You walk the talk.
I would feel bare without it.
You prayed with your wife. It's a very intimate thing to do.
Yeah, this is something we have to do when we're out walking. When we're out walking, we would say the rosary. We walk in the park, we would say the rosary. Lots of people even see me. I used to be shy of this. I used to be embarrassed. Not anymore. I couldn't be bothered. I make no apology for that.
And so it's true, the family that prays together stays together.
Yeah. This is very true.
What is so powerful about the rosary? Father Pio said it's the weapon of our times. Our priest
Mariana, people. Well, we know there's 10 secrets to be for the very near future. Well, I believe it's for the very near future. But what is the very near future? 10 years, 20 years. Let God work that out. I sort that out.
Yeah.
Live for today. Mariana was asked. This comes from Julie. Mariana was asked by people that were panicking, like, what's going to happen? Like, do we need to stock up on food? Do we need to have extra shelter? Do we need to have weapons? And she says, you don't need extra food. You don't need to have extra shelter. You don't. She says you do need a weapon. There is one weapon you need, and here is the weapon. And she took out a rosary. She says that's the only weapon that you will need.
So you got prayer answered through that. You got comfort through
Yes.
that.
No doubt, of course.
That's
It
amazing.
comes with it, and the more you pray, the more at ease you are. And when these people get on the television and they tell you we're all going to die for whatever reason, you squint and you look at the TV and you say, sure, we're all going to die one day anyway, so what's the problem? Like, this is how lost we are in particular. I keep saying, but I do believe this
the same
Western.
in Germany.
Well,
I was lost.
I just
completely.
I I mean, we're completely lost, and anything that comes onto the news about, there's a disease, there's this, that, and the other. We're all, and this is crazy. This is madness. I was lucky enough to come here.
So you saw a living God who's taking care of you in
Taking
detail.
care of me,
You talk to
taking
him like a friend.
Yes.
Because everybody wants that personal relationship.
Yes.
You talk to him like a friend in the morning.
Of course, like people talk about praying. The rosary is beautiful, but at times you can just ask straight up, just as I'm talking now, and don't be afraid. Do not be afraid.
Absolutely.
We were lucky enough to come out here in the.
I wanted to ask something else. There was Father Marin from a Franciscan friar, because you talked about respect going into the church. And he said a few weeks ago in Holy Mass, please, if you come to Holy Mass, don't come in beachwear to Holy Mass. Please cover your body, man and woman.
Yes, this is.
Why do we do that? We lost it somehow.
Well, we've lost lots of stuff. We've lost a lot of stuff. Well, as I said earlier in the interview, we're going to have a personal encounter with Jesus there and then. So, another thing, if men dress up inappropriately in Mass, and women do too, well, it can be a distraction. We're only human. We are only if a woman's dressed inappropriately, like I've learned.
It's biology.
Yes, exactly. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to realize what this. So this is very important, and it can distract you, and you shouldn't be distracted from Mass of what's actually taking place.
So beautiful what you said.
Yeah.
And in general, you brought a lot of people. What do you see in them after coming here?
Well, I don't want to sound. I take them here. That's what I do. I take them. I sometimes I take them here, and when we get off the bus, I say, "Our Lady, I've done my bit. It's now it's up to you." So that's the way I leave.
Of Julie's bit as well.
Of course. Sorry, Julie, of course. Yeah, and you see.
It's hand in hand, everybody together. Actually,
yes, and there's so many different things that happen. I've took lots of people out here. We came out here in the middle of the pandemic, August 2020.
Yeah.
No one was traveling.
And you dared. And how was it to be here then?
There was no one here. I mean, when I say no one here, it was probably one of the best experiences of my life. And I remember this well, and this is very interesting, because we all sat around the table when getting through borders was very difficult and doing everything. Mm-hmm. We have a photograph of us here we were lucky to meet Yakov, the visionary, and he had a photograph of us. We are actually invited to a private apparition with Maria. There was just no one here. And we then, when we were in, we seen Father Petar Lubadic, we seen Viska's husband, we seen all these people that we wouldn't see. It was such a beautiful time. But I remember at the very start, we were around an oval table, and we were all in great form, and then someone had a phone on and said, they're closing all the borders. And they all, now, I have this thing about, always worry about getting somewhere, never worry about getting home. So that was my thought process anyway.
And you got home, that's no problem.
I want to finish. I want to say,
Say.
I had booked many flights and got them cancelled, but this flight went, so we got here. But I remember they looked, oh, the borders are closed, and they started bickering, and Julia was with us, and they started like, what'll we do to get home? And Julie got up and she says, enough. I never seen her get like she got a wee bit cross, sharp, and she says, Our Lady has got you here safely, and she will get you home safely.
That was a faith test, yeah?
And so she did. She got us home safely. So it was a beautiful experience.
I think that was also a reward for you, you know, for what you do, because she likes people like you,
Well,
pure of heart.
yeah.
Like Julie over there, no? It's like
I always say she chooses her people very well.
Yeah.
She chose him for a reason.
yes, absolutely. You can see that, you know. And at the end, what do you tell people? Why come to Medjugorje one time?
There is this thing, like people ask why I don't go to other places. Well, I'm so busy, with work, but getting people to tell, you know, because taking
That's a
people to
huge
Medjugorje.
drug.
It's like a busman's holiday. I'm going to say this. If you listen on the radio, listen to music, and you love music, can you name someone who you love? Music, can you name them now?
Now, maybe like piano is from coming to my mind. Helen Grimaud, it's a
Helen-
piano player, French. Helen Grimaud.
Helen Grimaud. Well, if you heard Helen Grimaud was playing live in a place very near you, would you go and listen on the radio, or would you go and listen to Helen Grimaud?
Many times then. Yeah?
I believe I am very lucky. I am very lucky to even get here once. But this is the real deal. This is the live performance, and that's why I keep coming back here.
She's here.
She's here. Oh,
How would you describe it? Somebody, a lot of watch, they never come here, maybe never came here, never come here. What do you tell them? Why are they? Why is she here? How would you describe it?
No, not why is she here. I understand why she's here.
No, not why, but how would you know that she's here?
Okay.
That's the
okay.
way to
Well,
ask.
first of all, why is she here? Back then, she was asked that question, and the answer was, I've came here because there's many people of great faith here, and they were living in pure poverty. There was
Yes.
nothing here. This place.
It's like
this
my
place-
grandmother, like our village, same thing, yeah?
So the chips was down, and they still prayed their rosary. They still worshipped. You know, that's why Our Lady has come here. I believe this
Yeah.
very much.
And it's a lesson for all of us.
It's a very
when
big
we have
lesson,
faith,
because
she will come.
yeah, when you're down, when your chips is down, when the bad things, this is when you should stick to the rosary. This is, and she will make it all better. You know, she will make your life much easier.
Yeah.
You asked another question there. What was it?
Why is she here? How do you
I-
know that she's
yeah,
here?
well, that's something that's within me, I suppose. I must say this too. I tell people I've been to an apparition or whatever, and they say, "Oh, you've seen her." I've never seen Our Lady. I want to emphasize that I've never.
Julie, did you? No.
No, I've never seen her. And even to see Our Lady, it might be quite difficult, because you would have to. Be careful. Yeah. But have I ever heard her? I maybe have heard her in my heart. You know, I've never heard her audible voice. I've never seen her, but maybe in my heart.
And
Yeah.
that's what
And-
our Catholic faith is about. It's
Yeah.
about revelation in the heart. No?
Yeah. So that's.
And you had that. You can see that in your
Yeah.
eyes. They have this silent, you know, this balanced joy, I call it. That's what people say in Medjugorje.
Yeah.
You look in the eyes of the people and you see Our Lady.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you have
thank
that.
you.
Yeah, but what can I say? At the end, in one sentence, why come to Medjugorje?
There is
Oh,
one
like
thing
few
I meant to
sentence.
say.
Yeah,
There
say it,
is
say it,
there
it's
is
fine.
this thing I need to say.
I have
here.
time. I'm the only one who has time in this world, I think.
There's a.
Yeah?
There. People ask why what Our Lady does for you in Medjugorje. I'm going to use this word. There's an old Japanese art called kintsugi. Kinsagi. I think that's how it's pronounced. I can't pronounce it, but it is like this. When you, if you had a broken plate, if you had something pottery, if you had a vase and it was expensive and you broke it and you lifted it and you glue it all together, it's not worth the same. It's not as worth as much. Well, this is not true when you use this technique. It's called kintsugi, I think they call it. It's an old Japanese art. if you break something valuable, break anything, like a plate, a cup, a vase or anything, what they do is they glue it all together, but they glue it together with gold. And when they glue it together with gold, it is actually becomes priceless. Like if this was very expensive, it becomes worth a lot more. Let's put it that way. So it's an old Japanese art. I believe when you come to Medjugorje, with all your brokenness, with all your sinfulness and all, Our Lady gets you, and she starts to put you all together with gold. And when she's finished, and sometimes she doesn't finish you the first time, she has to go back and do it again until she's finished. And when you're finished, you're worth even more than and you're totally unique. This is how I would say Our Lady, she gets you and she starts to glue you back together with gold, and you become completely unique, because if there's someone like you, when you're all broken and you're put back together with gold, you're completely unique. So that's how I would see what Our Lady does. She glues you back together with gold and makes you more precious than ever and more valuable than ever.
And I want to confirm, because I asked one time too, and I felt like Holy Spirit said, like, look, if you are broken, I can easily mold you the way I want you to have. I can make a beautiful mosaic out of it.
She makes a mosaic out of you, yes.
Beautiful, and you add gold
she as I said, Our Lady, she puts you back together with gold, and you're more precious than ever. You're more unique than ever, and you're worth more than you ever were.
And what can I say? At the end, do you have like a website? Because people ask me then, how can do you have something like that? I don't know. How does that work? If they want to come in,
I'm not even on Facebook, because I came off Facebook because
it's too much. It's
just
disturbing.
too
actually.
much, and I think it wastes your time.
But should they come to a church, a priest, if they would like to come with you here to Medjugorje?
I take many priests here, and we should pray for our priests. Our priests. Without our priests, we are doomed. We are completely doomed. We need our priests.
It's fantastic. They're the gateway to heaven, my friend.
Yeah,
they are the true Supermans, my brother said.
They are the bridge between Our Lady and her triumph.
Yeah.
Our priests. We must pray for them. We must encourage them.
Yes.
We must encourage our
back
priests.
them up. Don't let them stand alone in the wind, my friends.
Definitely. Stand with them. And
don't devise. There are so many channels out there. They're devising Catholic channels.
Yeah.
You know, but I think this is not from God to...
When Our Lady says at the end of there's something I must say. When Our Lady says at the end of a public apparition, she says, I've blessed you all here with my motherly blessing. But if you want a blessing from my son, you must go to one of your shepherds. That is she's actually putting her priests higher than herself.
Yeah.
This is beautiful. This is, I don't even like saying that, but that's what she's doing. Without priests, we are doomed. That's what I'm going to say.
And I insist again, that's true what you said, so you pray for the priest, but is there a chance they contact you for a pilgrimage, or you are overwhelmed with that stuff?
No, of course they can contact me, but they
can we put something in the description of the video, like an email maybe?
Yeah, I can put an email in the video if they want. Yes, of course. I know many priests.
Good, fantastic.
And I love them all.
Fantastic.
No matter,
all the pilgrims.
They're all different, and they're all different personalities. But there's no one can do on an altar what a priest can do.
Amen. Please remember that. That's I think
their hands are consecrated.
Yes.
No, who can give you Holy Mass? Who can give you confession?
Yes.
Who can do all? No one else.
Yes.
And by the way, just to finish on this, in another few years, say 20 years, where am I going to be? Where are you going to be?
Absolutely.
We think this is.
Look, my brother died sleeping from one day to the other.
There you go.
You know? And he said before, I think this for you guys too, he said, I lived my life. The mother of the girlfriend asked him by coincidence 1 week before, he said, do you fear dying, Michael? He said, no, because I lived all the dreams, all the love that God had posted in my heart. I lived it out. I have another friend, he died of cancer. At the end, he told me, Tom, I didn't live. I could have made a business.
Yeah.
I didn't do it, it's finished. He died of cancer so hard he could not let go.
Yeah.
So this is real. That's why we are doing these videos.
That's it.
Get in a state of grace.
Get in a
well
state of
confessed.
grace. And I'm trying to do as much as I can, I suppose. And I always believe I can do more. But
it's you let yourself be guided. God doesn't, like my spiritual guide, doesn't demand things you can't do.
Yeah.
Just do,
Yeah.
And maybe to the end also my grandmother, she always said, because we were talking about like grandparents praying, she said, like your Sunday, like your death day. She died. They were poor farmers. They never worked on Sunday, only feed the cattle necessary.
That's right.
She died then. They always stopped, risked also, and she died doing Holy Mass. Boom, gone to heaven.
There you go.
And that's like, we guys, we have to gain back the respect. We
Well,
all,
there-
step by
I-
step, I
There's-
learned this respect as well again.
There's a lovely restaurant up here, Philly's,
Yeah.
and Julie loves. I love this restaurant. I've been to it several times with different pilgrims and priests. So it's very good. And we went up one Sunday, it's closed, and I rang Julie. I said, "Why is this closed?" She says, "Oh, he'll not open on a Sunday here. Oh, you'll not get that place open on a Sunday."
Sunday.
He really. She says, "Our people." She keeps talking. Our people won't open on a Sunday. They
Yeah.
won't. They won't open.
And you
They-
get the best quality, good price.
Yeah.
Go to Philly's. That's a nice ending of the video. You Catholics also eat some nice food in Medjugorje. Yeah, you can get some.
The food is. Yeah, look at me. Look at.
Let me see. Oh, that's good. That's like me. Thank you so much for that beautiful interview.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Tom.